Today I'd like to discuss what I consider to be the three pillars of first assisting that everything else builds on. The first is exposure. The surgeon needs to be able to see what he's doing to be able to do what he needs to do. You as the first assistant are there to provide that for him. So you need to know what to retract and how to retract it. For instance, if you're retracting bowel's very delicate and you have to be careful how you handle that. Versus if you were working on the stomach's very strong and you can do a lot of traction on that without any damage at all. An artery versus a vein. An artery is much sturdier than a vein. A vein is very fragile and difficult to repair. When I was first doing it, I would sometimes be able to see well from my view, but the surgeon won't be able to see as well, and I had to learn to start thinking about what the surgeon would see. The second of all is countertraction. This is pervasive throughout almost any surgery. You need to do that countertraction in order for them to be able to do what their dissection and proceed with the surgery. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Pretend this handkerchief is tissue, and the surgeon, this is the surgeon's hand, and he's trying to cut, and you want him to cut that straight line down there, and there's no help on the other side. So he's trying to cut against floppy tissue. Versus if you as the assistant come along and give some countertraction over here. So you're giving the countertraction surgeons here. Now he can use his hand. See how much easier this would be to dissect against if you had that countertraction. And that's what you're doing. You're doing that even when he's suturing, even when he's making an incision, when he's dissecting inside the body. Anytime he's doing that, you're giving that countertraction, you're helping him to be able to dissect. Now when he's dissecting, it's a dynamic process and it keeps changing. His ankle keeps changing. So you have to make these subtle adjustments in your countertraction to accommodate the change in what he's doing. The third and final thing is anticipation. You need to be able to anticipate what he's doing and where he's going to be able to keep the flow of the surgery going. In order to do that, you need to know the surgical anatomy. You need to not necessarily know the name of everything, but you need to recognize nerves, arteries, organs. You need to know what they are and how to handle them. For instance, if we're going in to do a gastric sleeve and we get inside the abdomen with our laparoscopic camera and you see the crura of the diaphragm, it's triangular like this, and it's where the esophagus comes through, and over that lies the peritoneum. If you see a dimple there, you know that there's a hole behind that, which is indicating that you probably have a hiatal hernia. So the surgeon doesn't have to say anything to me. Instead, I will adjust my grasp and go ahead and grasp over the gastrohepatic ligament instead of grasping over on the omentum, because I know that we're going to have to repair that hiatal hernia. You need to know what the surgical procedure entails, and you need to read up on it if you don't know about it. The other thing that gives you a lot of clues is the surgeon's body language. You can read a lot of things in a lot of different aspects of the surgery. The surgeon's body language. What is he doing? If he's doing a laparoscopic case and he's squinting and he's leaning forward, he's telling you that he needs to have a closer view on that angle of the camera. Or if something's moving, I say go where the action is. If something's moving, that means that's where you need to be following with your camera. And that's what you need to be focused on. For instance, once something stopped moving, if he's holding a hemostat or moving a coker around, and then all of a sudden he has it and he's moving and then he stops, he shouldn't have to tell you that that's the signal for you to take that hemostat out of his hand or coker and hold and retract it. He's got it where it needs to be, and that stopping of the movement is telling me that it's time for me to take it. When you hear conversation, a lot of times you will hear things said that will give you a clue of what's going on and will give you a clue of what you need to do. So these are the three things: exposure, countertraction, and being able to anticipate. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please hit like or subscribe, and there will be more. Thank you.